great players who've done what I asked. I've had assistant coaches work their butt off for me. My managers do all the dirty work so I don't have to wash uniforms. And I have administrations that believe in me, my ADs and my principal, and let me do my thing because my thing is working with kids. That's been my whole life, and it'll be my whole life until I fall over dead. I hope it ain't next week. I want to try to get some more. I don't think it'll be another 500, but this is what I think the good Lord blessed me to do, and I'm trying to do it right.
This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Good Saturday morning to all of you out there. Matt Hatfield here with you on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, which is streaming each and every Saturday on CoVA Sports TV, our YouTube channel, as well as on VirginiaPreps.com, all over the web, on X or Twitter at 757 Sports Talk, our Facebook pages with the Virginia Beach Sports PLEX and Regional Training Center. And as always, like, share, and subscribe to our page. We are awaiting my cohort, the coach Ed Young, who is on an assignment, I think, in a different land, different state at the moment. Not sure 100%. I know he's having some difficulties, some troubleshooting login issues, which, happens for some of our good dinosaur pals, but we'll give him a break. You just saw the clip there from last year in February after his 500th career win at Nansemond River when the Warriors beat Deep Creek, a Southeastern District counterpart. And if you're just waking up on this Saturday morning, the final one of March 2024, we've got a busy show for you. We're going to go through our MLB over-unders. We've got David Glenn, the multi-time North Carolina Sportscaster of the Year, set to join us. And as always, you can join our show. In fact, if you go on my Facebook page, you can find a link to join the show to talk to us live on the show. You'll see a little link to it, but we're also available on YouTube. So we're going to talk about the NCAA Basketball Tournament with David Glenn coming up in a bit. But if you're just waking up, the news that we broke both at VirginiaPreps.com, where I'm the publisher, part of the Rivals.com network of sites powered by Yahoo Sports. And it's also, to my knowledge, in the newspaper, in the Suffolk News Herald, and on the Suffolk News Herald website, is that Coach Ed Young has coached his final basketball game at Nansemond River. And I don't want to speak for him. I'll let him do some of the speaking when he comes on. But he is not announcing his retirement, though he's getting a ton, and I do mean a ton, of congratulatory retirement notes. I'll let him delve into his situation and what the future may hold for him moving forward. He is retiring from teaching, I do know, at the end of the school year coming up in June, but is not planning to hang it up as far as coaching goes. So we shall see where he is coaching beyond this year in 2024, 2025. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but he is one of the few that's accomplished the 500-plus victories. And his time, a pretty darn good one at Nansemond River, 20 years, longest tenured coach in the area for boys basketball outside of Lansdowne's Dwight Robinson, and Bethel's Craig Brehan would basically be right there with him. He had a one-year hiatus in Hampton and came back to the job at Bethel. You don't see coaches last places 20-plus years. In football, I think the only guy that's done it that long would be Hank Sawyer at Lake Taylor, since Mike Smith retired at Hampton just a couple years ago. But we've got a lot to do with you this morning here on the program. Again, you can interact with us through our social media pages. We always want to hear from you, and we encourage any type of feedback. And again, we are streaming all over the web, so you can connect with us. NCAA Basketball Tournament, couple quick thoughts. And I think I expressed this last week when we had Jeff Jones, the former Old Dominion coach, on the show. And we also had Eli Harold on the show. If you missed those interviews, and they were terrific interviews, you can go back to our YouTube page and check them out. Always good to do that. But the leads are never safe in college basketball. It's not just on the men's side. It's on the women's side too. South Carolina women, the top team in the country, were up by 22 points yesterday. And the lead got down to 1 or 2. I think it was 2 in their Sweet 16 matchup with Indiana, who can shoot the basketball extremely well. Now, we didn't see any crazy comebacks in either matchup days for the Sweet 16. Thursday, where UConn just rolled against San Diego State. Clemson held on against Arizona. As you see on our screen, you also had from Thursday and Friday's games, as Coach Young is now with us. We're going to bring him in just a second. You had the likes of Alabama hold off North Carolina. They were down 10 early in that game, but ended up pulling it out 89-87. And Illinois edging Iowa State 72-69 behind Terrence Shannon's 29-point game. He had his, I think, 7th straight 25-point effort. And then last night you had Duke edge Houston 54-51. Tennessee ending up pulling away from Creighton 82-75. And then in your first two games, another ACC team, a surprise one, as NC State kept its magical run going by beating Marquette and Shaka Smart's team 67-58, while Purdue handled Gonzaga pretty comfortably behind another great game from Zach Edey and Braden Smith, their guard. But these leads just disappear at the blink of an eye so fast. But we'll talk about that more coming up with David Glenn of The David Glenn Show. And we'll tell you how you can watch David Glenn's content and all the great things there. He's ready. He's with us as we say good morning. We'll unmute him now to the coach, Ed Young, who's now with us. Can you hear me, Edward?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. It's awesome that you are with us. But as I started the show with,
I got to apologize. I overslept.
We understand. It's okay.
Way overslept on everything, and I forgot it was Saturday. Kind of lost track of days. So,
well, you've had a doozy of a week. As I did not go in depth, and I don't know how in depth you want to go into. I'm sure people that are waking up this morning are seeing it now. They're reading it on our website, reading it in the Suffolk News Herald about the news regarding you. And we played the clip from last year after your 500th win over Deep Creek. But I know you're getting congratulatory texts from some who think you have retired. You're not retiring from coaching. I don't want to speak for you. I'll let you do that in a moment. But you are retiring from teaching at the end of the year. However, you are not returning for a 20th season, 21st year at the helm of Nansemond River, a school that you've obtained about a good bulk of your 517 career victories. So we do want to say, I know a lot of people out there are wishing you all the best in your next endeavor, and that you are planning to get back on the sidelines. And we look forward to seeing what suit you're wearing and wherever you're wearing that suit in 2024, 2025. But while you have a moment or two, I guess, share with the audience what's on your mind this morning as you're still, I guess, digesting all that's transpired in the past week.
It's been a tough week. For those that don't know, I will not be coming back to Nansemond River either as a teacher or a coach. I put my retirement in for teaching, but I was planning on coaching. Still plan on coaching, but obviously that's not going to happen. And it's just tough to even talk about. I was blindsided.
I think part of your finger is blocking your camera. I don't know if you can hold it from the side or something. I don't know. There you go. That's better. Way better.
Yeah. All right. It's a whole lot of. It's really a lot of different emotion going through me right now. My intent was to come back at the very least, coach one more year at Nansemond River. I think we're going to be pretty good next year. We got a lot of youngsters back. We played 3 sophomores and 1 freshman. Pretty good starter minutes throughout the year. And the freshmen started the last 6 games, including the regional game in Norview. So I think that would put us in a situation where experience, and if I don't screw it up, we would be okay. But unfortunately, the powers to be said they want to go in a different direction. That's what was told to me. I'm not sure what that direction is. It's really hard to take because I do want to coach. I still think I have the juice to do it, and I love the competitiveness of it. But if you're not wanted somewhere, then you can't force it. No, I'm not retiring from coaching. A lot of people have sent me a ton of congratulations on great career and your retirement, but I don't want to retire from coaching. Now, if nobody wants me, then I have to retire. But I still very much want to coach and see whatever situations are out there if anybody is interested in me. And we'll go from there. It's just extremely, extremely hard to talk about. I don't know if anybody's been through something where something's taken away from you that you never expected, and it's something that you cherish and love. And I mean, I lost my mom, and that was and my dad, and those are the worst feelings I've ever had in my life. This isn't death. It isn't death. I've had a broken up relationship, which really hurt. This is not quite that, but it is in a different category. Something I've done for so long. I've been coaching since my second year of college. I've had a team under me, except the COVID year. COVID year really, really, really knocked me out. I went into depression, and not having a team, I didn't know it affected me that much. I knew then that coaching was for me because I wanted it, whereas a lot of people were getting out of coaching um, on the COVID. I missed it, and when we got able to come back and play, the depression was gone. Everything was great. So now I've got to digest all of this and finish my school year, which I will. Finish the school year on my best note and see what the future holds. But I will say this. I'm overwhelmed by the congratulatory, the texts, the calls. I have not answered many people at all. I'm overwhelmed. I've had referees, opposing coaches, former players, fans. I've had a lot of people respond that just knocked me for a loop. Um, and that was even humbling too. I guess it showed that I'm making some kind of an impact. When I got a chance to talk to my players and told them the news, the reaction on most of their faces surprised me. They looked like they were truly hurt. And
Can I jump in real quick on that, Ed? Can I jump in real quick on that for a second?
Yes.
Okay, because I was told yesterday by someone who's pretty well connected in athletic administration a story regarding how your kids felt. And I put the story up on Instagram about you leaving. And this is a true story. I had maybe 7 or 8 at least players who shared your departure with the little cry emojis, sad. And I can tell you, whether it's the spin job from the city of Suffolk or your school, whoever, and I don't care to put this out, I'm going to say it, that they said only one player was saddened about that. That's a bold-faced lie and not true. And that doesn't matter. And real quickly, and I don't want to steal your thunder, every school, even yours, has the right to move on from anybody at any time for any reason. That's their right. I reached out to your principal, who did not get back to me until after the story was published, which I think is pretty darn convenient. And I'll say that out loud publicly. I just think it's pretty convenient. They knew what I was contacting them about. They decided to wait for a reply. And then I was given the statement that all media correspondence must be coordinated through the Office of Community Engagement. And they've copied in that person as the primary point of contact, which is kind of odd to me when another principal in another school on the peninsula contacted me before they announced the hiring of their basketball coach just a week ago. Okay. So I think that's pretty classless. But this notion that people, they want to make a change, which they have the right to, and it doesn't just include you. This could be anybody, any male or female, boys or girls basketball coach, any sport. They want to kick someone when they're down. It's wrong, it's disgraceful, and it's distasteful. But I wanted to get that out there, that for those that think the kids don't care, I've got proof of it. And if y'all don't believe that, I'll be glad to share those screenshots with you folks. But go ahead and continue on with what you're saying. I just want to get that out there.
Well, all I know is what the kids told me and the that I got from the kids. And the reason I say it surprised me a little bit, because, a lot of times as coaches, we get on our kids hard. And I admit, I'm probably one of the hardest coaches to play for because I'm so demanding. But I really care about my kids. I love them to death and would go to bat for them in any shape, form, or way, because I kind of coach them how maybe I would coach my own kid. And I want my own kid to be pushed hard, but at the same time, treated fairly. And then when he needs help, please help him. And that's kind of how I coach my kids. This is all I've done. This is all I think I'm good at. It's a passion for me. And I wanted to go out on my terms, and I thought I earned that situation, but apparently I didn't. And I'm not going to badmouth anybody along those lines that have said they don't want me. I'm not going to do that. I am not happy. I will have probably a little bit more to say at a later time. I don't want to say a whole lot on an emotional state, because when you're in an emotional state, sometimes you'll say things with your heart and not your brain, and you have to be careful with that. But, for those who are wondering what's going on, all I could tell you is all I was told was we want to go in a different direction. I don't really know what that means. We're averaging 14, 15 wins a year. We got to regionals. Am I the best coach around? Absolutely not. I think I'm far from the worst. And, I know we weren't picked high, and we finished No, it doesn't really matter, right? It's just a matter of I just got to move on and figure what's going to happen next. That's all. And I do, again, once again, I appreciate everybody out there, all the well wishers, and I'm totally taken back by it because the words were tremendous for me, and some people that I didn't even think I would hear from. I heard from, especially officials. You know, a lot of people think I get on officials like crazy, but I think I have a good relationship with most of the officials. And I had about 4 or 5 reach out to me, and
Well, and some of them posted their comments. Yeah, they posted their comments on Facebook. You're right; they can read those officials, which is interesting. That means you should be getting all the calls when you do return to the sidelines, right? But you weren't the
calls.
Hey, you weren't the only coach on the Friday news dump to make news. I don't know if you know this or not, if I've told you or not. There was 2 other news stories that I was told. I was told that Chris Furman is leaving Nansemond Suffolk Academy, one of your former Southeastern District rivals, moves at Western Branch for Portsmouth Christian. But how about this one? Mark Hall's tenure of 14 years at Cape Henry is now over. They have, from what I was told, decided to part ways mutually. I don't know if that's mutually. They've departed ways. We'll have to effort getting Mark Hall on the show. I know we've had him on the past radio. His son's obviously Mark coaches football at Salem. His son Devin plays. But we got this tweet yesterday from someone that told us 3 state championships, 6 TCIS titles, 15 former players playing collegiately, and a couple of guys, in fact, have reached the NBA, including his son Devin. So there's a little bit of a shocker. 2 of the, I'll say it out loud, between you and Mark Hall, 2 of the winningest coaches in not just our area but our state departing in the same day, which is pretty rare. And I had some people when they saw that, like, this crazy. I mean, you probably could take y'all's winning percentages, and if y'all aren't 1 and 2 in public and private, you're certainly in the top 3 to 5. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that. I thought Mark would be there forever. He's just done a tremendous job at Cape Henry, and I don't, I've talked to Mark in a bit. I don't see him being done coaching. I think he still has a lot to offer. And Chris never ages a second. I haven't talked to Chris to see maybe why he's stepping away, but those are 2 guys that have been very successful. Chris at a couple of places, and of course Mark at Cape Henry. And coaching is not easy, especially today's world. We have a lot of unrealistic expectations by sometimes players and definitely by parents, and sometimes by administration. It's not easy in this day and age where everybody wants something handed to them. We see the badness that's happening with the NBA, where guys will sit out, drop them a dime. Colleges with the portal craziness, and of course the NIL, which you and I have talked so much on here about, and it trickles down into the high school situation too. It's the hardest of the 3 to coach. The high school situation is by far the hardest. There are so many guys in the pros and college who couldn't last a week on the high school scene, but there's a lot of really good high school coaches. If given the same opportunity other guys have been given at the college and pro level, would be successful. And I've kind of experienced that, and I've seen that up close, personal with some guys. So it's not easy. It's not an easy job, but it's when you make a commitment to it, like I've done, and then it's taken away from you, boy, it's not a good feeling.
Well, and again, just to put my capper on it, I think every school, including yours, has the right to make a change. I think the way they do it is one way. I mean, I my personal opinion, which I'm allowed to share, taking away from the writing side of it, and I think I've handled it as fair as one can in terms of critiquing it and writing the story, even calling you outspoken and brash, which you are, and I don't think you have any problem with that being listed. That I think if they wanted to make a change and go in a different direction, that they should have been upfront with you at the end of last season and beginning of this season. But they don't want to comment on the situation, which they had every right to do, and that's their prerogative. But before we go to break, we got David Glenn coming up on the show. Your quick thought on the last 2 nights of college basketball. It was, to a degree, some ho-hum. Tough for Houston with that injury to Jamal Shedd. I think they would have beat Duke if he doesn't go down in that first half of the ankle. I think they win that game last night. I mean, that's a big chunk of your – it's a Naismith Player of the Year finalist and All-American. He goes down, and who would have thought of 3 ACC teams in the Elite Eight, and one of them's not North Carolina, and 2 of them are Clemson and NC State, which we'll dive into with David Glenn coming up. Crazy, right?
I can't figure out NCAA tournament. I stopped looking at my bracket after the first day. NC State, Clemson, amazing, absolutely amazing. This far, you're right. You would probably name all the ACC schools before you name those 2. It's definitely North Carolina, and Carolina's out. And Alabama played that was a great game. Alabama.
How about Grant Nelson, the kid with the Adam Morrison stash, who had like 6 points and 2 fouls in the previous 2 rounds. He goes off against the Tar Heels in the Sweet 16 with like 25 points, 12 boards, 5 blocks. He was a monster out there.
Matt, you and I've talked about this, about these double-digit leads really mean nothing anymore.
No.
If you're under 19 in the second half, you have a chance.
That includes the NBA. Thank you very much, Doc Rivers and the Bucks. But go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. This is what I'm trying to say. The Celtics blow 31-point lead. When I've watched the games too, I watch everything from a coaching perspective as to what I would do if I was doing it or if I'm going against it. And it's not only guys can shoot the basketball fairly well, it's some poor defense going on. Not like I'm noticing a lot of the pick and roll defenses, and then going out and cover guys from the 3. It's just some horrible defense. And then there's some moves or lack of moves made by some big-time coaches. And I'm not one to want to second-guess coaches, and because I'm one. I'm a coach, so I second-guess myself enough.
Sure.
But just some play out there that's just, at times, horrible. Just really horrible play. And I don't know. And again, as a coach, I can speak in this manner. A lot of times we have something set up as what we're going to do. And it's been practiced, because it's hard to be successful at something you haven't practiced with kids. And again, the lower the age of the kid, the harder it is. But these guys pride themselves on a college level getting things done. But it really looks like, is it a disconnect between the coaches and the players, or the players are just forgetting to get it done, or a step too slow to get it done? It has to be one of those reasons why when the things don't get done the way they should. And that's why the coaches start pulling their hair out or getting gray hair or whatever. Many times I've called a timeout and said, I just told you this is what we're going into, and we've worked on it. And the kids are looking and say, my bad. And I'm like, no, it is. It ain't my fault. And sometimes people say, well, then as a coach, so you're blaming mistakes on kids. And my answer is yes. If you have practiced it, if you've gone over it, and you have been successful with it, and then all of a sudden it doesn't happen, even though this is what we're going to do, and it don't happen, that's on the kids. If you ask the kids to do something that you've never really practiced, never really gone over, and just expect them to know, that's on the coaches.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to come across as, so when things go good, it's the coach's fault. When things go bad, it's the player's fault. No, I'm just saying you give credit where credit is due in both situations. I mean, there are many times, and I'll just talk my own personal coaching, where I said to myself, good Lord, thank God I got some kids with brains, because they made me look good. They bailed me out of situations. And there are times I've taken a time out and said, okay, we're going zone. And the kids will say, no, Coach, we got to stay man. And I'm saying, well, how come we're not playing it? Coach, let us stay man. We'll get it fixed. And they did. Now, that's a testament to the kid, because if we would have went zone and they don't want to play it, that's kind of my fault for switching it. So,
well, you know who went zone 2 nights ago was Clemson. They did a little bit of that Syracuse zone. We'll talk about that coming up with David Glenn. He of the David Glenn Show. You can find him on the NCSportsNetwork.com. We'll tell you more about that as we go through the Elite 8 and the Sweet 16 games that are in the books. We'll quickly take a timeout, though, and hear from some of the sponsors that make it possible for us on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. You're watching CoVA Sports.
I grew up here. I know this town. I know the people here. More important, they know me. As a banker at Town Bank, we become part of the communities we serve. The people who bank with us, our members, know us. When you bank with Town Bank, you'll know your banker. You'll know you can reach us, and you'll know we're here for you.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
And we thank you all for tuning in here on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, also available on X or Twitter at 757 Sports Talk, Facebook, Instagram, VirginiaPreps.com, on the Rivals Network, and so much more. We have a special guest with us. He is the multi-time North Carolina Sportscaster of the Year, David Glenn of The David Glenn Show, ncsportsnetwork.com/DG Show. Like, share, and subscribe to his YouTube channel as well, which is booming. David, good to have you back on the show. I think we last spoke in the fall during college football, and right now, the March Madness, it's been wild. We've had a lot of chalk, a lot of the favorites winning and moving on, but 3 ACC teams in Elite Eight, and not one is UNC. It's the 6th seed and the 10th seed from the regular season with Clemson and NC State. How stunned are you that those two are still playing while you don't have the likes of, say, UNC, an Auburn out of the SEC, a Kentucky out of the SEC? They're done.
Yeah, well, only because I was there in Washington, D.C., and I saw the Wolfpack win 5 games in 5 days. Maybe that's the main reason I'm not shocked that NC State is one of the 8 teams still standing here, because I also watched the Wolfpack at the end of the regular season, guys, and they lost 7 of their last 9 regular season games. It's not like you can see the momentum building like a snowball rolls downhill and gets bigger gradually at the end of the regular season. It was absolutely not that. The Wolfpack played some pretty rough basketball for most of February and early March. So to see them standing after winning 8 games in a row, that part shocks me. Duke being in the Elite Eight doesn't surprise me. They're one of the most gifted offensive teams in the entire country and have been all year. And even Clemson being still alive does not surprise me. I've always thought Brad Brownell was an underrated coach, underappreciated by his own fan base at many times in his 14 years at Clemson. And I think this is his best team he's had in 14 years there, with P.J. Hall inside and Joe Girard outside. And their point guard, Chase Hunter, has really played well here during the NCAA tournament. So you guys know how it goes. At this stage of the tournament, especially, anybody can win, anybody can lose. And it was the Tar Heels losing a close one at the hands of Alabama. It was the Blue Devils winning a close one against number 1 seed Houston. At this point, moving forward, including with the Wolfpack playing the Blue Devils in the Elite Eight, that's a big, big game in my neighborhood. You just never can be sure what's going to happen, and that's part of what makes March Madness so fun.
Yeah, it is. And crazy that you have the Tar Heel ACC Player of the Year, RJ Davis, go 0 for 9 from 3 in the same building on the same night that former Tar Heel Caleb Love, who helped them reach the national championship and almost beat Kansas 2 years ago, goes 0 for 9 from deep for Arizona in their loss to an ACC team. I'll let Ed jump in here just a second, David, because I'm sure he wants to talk to you about coaching with Kevin Keatts going from the hot seat to extending his job. And Brad Brownell was on the hot seat before the season, and he's definitely extended his job and situation. But I want to bring up a guy that reminds me of a player Ed used to play when he was in high school at Kings Fort. We went on to Marquette, and Devontae Gardner. That's his clone at NC State now, and DJ Burns. You remember they called Gardner back in the day Big Ox. That's what Burns is down low. He's become this, sensation, this revelation. But you recall it, David. I remember watching it late in the regular season. They played at home against Duke. They had a double-digit lead. They kept force-feeding him. He was scoring at will, and then Duke got hot from 3. Sort of blew them away in the second half, but it felt like that was the blueprint and turning point, though it came in a loss for the Wolfpack. You go back to that moment as kind of a awakening for Kevin Keatts that they had something that was brewing. If they just got everything else connected, they could do something. And tell me about this Burns kid. Can he continue to be a factor coming up Elite Eight and possibly beyond? Is he such a game changer?
Yeah, DJ Burns is a lot of fun. I got to not only interview him a few times this year, but sometimes it was face-to-face, standing right next to him where you're kind of holding the microphone up to this 6'9", 275-pound mountain of a man who at times looks like he's carrying even more than 275 pounds. He's a big personality. He smiles all the time. I'm a big believer that DJ Burns is a part of the Wolfpack's turnaround in two different ways. One is that personality. He's just never in a bad mood. He never worries about the last thing that happens. He says he inherited his personality from his mom, who's apparently a very positive, very upbeat, very smiling type person. So that certainly sustains you just psychologically when you're losing 7 times in a 9-game stretch. But the X and O part is important too, because I remember that game in Raleigh against Duke, and the Blue Devils made the tactical decision to not double team DJ Burns, which is what we've seen most of these last few weeks. Duke in that game decided, we'll put up with DJ Burns putting up a big number points-wise. We don't want him getting 8 assists where it's hitting this guy for the wide open three-pointer or this guy for the layup down low, which DJ has done during this NCAA tournament and also as the MVP at the ACC tournament. I remember from John Shire of Duke, I remember Tony Bennett of Virginia up in D.C. They all talked about the starting point for their defensive game plan was, what do we do with DJ Burns? He is 6'9", 275, but he's not really a traditional low post player. He's kind of like a ballerina out there. He has every angle, every footwork. He has beautifully soft touch off the glass or straight into the net. And he has confidence. He has a counter move for whatever you do to him. You double team him, he finds the open man. You play off of one shoulder, he has a spin move. If you make him roll into the lane, he has a nice little old-fashioned hook shot. He is a huge personality. He's a huge human being, and he is the number one reason, I think, that the Wolfpack has turned this season around. And now John Shire and his staff have to make a new decision on how they're going to defend DJ Burns, because he did kill them with points in a game Duke won earlier this month, but then he has killed others with his assists along the way of this 8-game Wolfpack winning streak.
Got a couple of ACC teams in action with NC State and Duke. It's a rematch of an ACC tournament game in the Elite Eight. You've also got Clemson taking on Alabama, also a rematch. The Tigers won that matchup, plus defending national champion UConn taking on Illinois with the high-flying Terrence Shannon and company. He's scoring at a high clip. And then you got Purdue and Tennessee in a regional final. It is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. We're talking with David Glenn of the David Glenn Show, ncsportsnetwork.com, with us here on CoVA Sports TV. Go ahead, Ed.
Hey, David, it's great to have you back on again. It really interesting because you've been up, like you said, up close and personal to see these guys play. The thing I like about DJ Burns, since we're talking about him, he is a big body. It reminds me of Glenn Baby Davis back from LSU days, played a little bit in the NBA, probably more skilled, probably better footwork. And it's funny, I heard somebody ask an NBA analyst this week, does his game progress to the NBA level? And the guy said, well, big bodies like that are not really used. And my quick comment was, if you can play, you can play. I think he's going to find his niche in the NBA. Of course, he's going to play against guys as big as him, but he's kind of a little bit of throwback. Even though he's not a traditional inside guy, he's very good at post up. And you hit a key point. He can hit that hook shot, that baby hook, that hook shot. How many guys do we talk about in college or pro today that even know what a hook shot is?
That's a good point. He's a throwback. And remember, this is his 6th year of college basketball coach. He actually started at Tennessee way back and then became a fantastic player at Winthrop before transferring to NC State the year before last. So he's kind of been there, done that. He doesn't get upset when things are going poorly. He knows who he is as much as any veteran player in the entire NCAA tournament. And his teammates feed off of that. Again, both his psychological energy or emotional energy, but also just the X's and O's where this past game where in the first half, DJ Burns had 5 assists. And I thought, and you would know this better than I as a coach, there are times your players are playing with the weight of the world on their shoulders. And then there are times your players just look like they're relaxed and having fun. And what DJ Burns sometimes does with his passes, and I remember specifically his 5 first-half assists went to 5 different players. And it was because Marquette did choose to double-team DJ. So when that happened the first time, he finds Casey Morsell for an easy layup, or it might have been a dunk, actually. So that lets Casey Morcell relax a little bit. I just got my first shot out of the way. It was a dunk. I'm excited. Now I can just play my game. Then he hits the big guy Mo Diarra with a down low pass, and Diarra hits a little layup off the glass. Then he hits Michael O'Connell for a wide open three, one of the guards. He hits it. Then he hits Jaden Taylor for a wide open three. He hits it. He hits DJ Horn, the Wolfpack's leading scorer, for a little floater in the lane, a low complication shot. Those 5 assists led his 5 Wolfpack teammates in the first half as Marquette looked nervous. Marquette was taking unwise shots. Marquette was rushing some shots, and they just looked like they were playing with that weight of the world. Meanwhile, DJ Burns is smiling, DJ Burns is distributing, and DJ Burns is giving 5 different teammates with 5 great passes. Just one of those, get in the flow of the game. Here's your first easy bucket. Now we can just play basketball the way we all love to play basketball. It's amazing how that psychological part of the game can play out. But Marquette played as if the world was depending on them as a 2 seed to advance. The Wolfpack played as if it was playing with house money. We're not even supposed to be here, right? Why not us? Nobody thought we'd win the ACC tournament either. I think when the talent levels are relatively similar, that psychological element can play a big factor, and the Wolfpack is just playing with house money right now.
Yeah, they really are. Go ahead.
No, Matt, what I was going to say, interject with David. Again, as a coach, you're right. If your players can execute free of mind and worried about everything, and they know what they're doing, it's perfect to watch. If they're really uptight and, you're screaming as a coach, or the expectations are, hey, we're supposed to be winning, and we're not. And if we don't win, we're going to get eliminated. Now, the kid's got too much going on in his mind. He's probably not going to execute. DJ Burns eliminates a lot of that. He plays so freely, and the kids feed off of him. And when you're worried about him, other guys will take care of their business. See, in the coaching mentality, a lot of times is when you face a kid who's really good, a player who's really good, there's 2 ways to approach him. You know what? We're going to let him get his, because if we concentrate too much on him and he still gets his and everybody else gets theirs, we're going to get blown out. So we'll play him now, but we're going to make sure nobody else beats us and nobody else has a great game. Well, apparently with NC State, that not necessarily going to work either. Not that they're a team that you can't beat. You made a great point. They lost all those games at the end of the regular season. Okay, now all of a sudden they're a whole different team. And I attribute that to when you get in the NCAA tournament, you don't have a whole lot of time to prepare for teams. Now, what you hope is you're playing a team that you played somebody like them earlier. So you've got an idea how to go against them. Maybe somebody in your league that's similar to them. And then a lot of times is you have just to worry about yourself. What do you do well? Why are you in the tournament? You better keep doing that, because if you rely on strictly stopping what the other team has done, don't forget they're in the tournament for a reason too. And I think it's very poignant when you see teams like Clemson, like NC State, that us fans say, what are they doing in there? They blew up our brackets. They shouldn't be in there. They're doing the psychological / mental part that some of the teams who are supposed to be in there couldn't do.
And what's interesting is that the way it turned out, Clemson, of course, has Alabama. And every college coach I've ever met will say they love having those 4 days to prepare for their Thursday or Friday opponent. It's always much tougher to have the 1 day turnaround between your Thursday and Saturday opponent and your Friday and Sunday opponent. In this particular case, obviously, Duke and State not only are neighbors, they're ACC rivals. They've not only played each other twice, they've played each other twice within this month. This is their 3rd meeting in the month of March. So that takes a quick turnaround and makes it a lot less complicated because you know each other so well. This year's personnel, the coaches know each other, et cetera. And oh, by the way, the Clemson Tigers, who obviously have a quick turnaround for Alabama after they had a much longer time to prepare for Arizona, Clemson did play Alabama during the regular season. They went to Tuscaloosa and beat the Crimson Tide. It was one of their great non-conference victories. So the usual stress about the shorter turnaround game is at least reduced for Clemson and NC State and Duke. But because that's something coaches talk about all the time. You always have your assistants looking forward, but the coach and the players have to focus on that Thursday or Friday game. Otherwise, you might not be still alive for that Saturday or Sunday game. So it's just interesting how it played out this time. It's not often that ACC teams go head-to-head in the Elite Eight. Like we saw Duke and Carolina go head-to-head in the Final Four just 2 years ago, famously. But that's what we have here. And those two earlier games, Duke won one in Raleigh, State won the other up in Washington, D.C. at the ACC tournament. They used different tactics on DJ Burns and otherwise each time. And who knows what we're going to see this time other than maybe another close game.
In our remaining minutes with David Glenn, you can check out David Glenn, the best place for his new YouTube channel, the David Glenn Show podcast and daily articles. It's his company's new website, ncsportsnetwork.com. Give him a follow on X or Twitter, as you see as well at David Glenn Show, here with us on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. In our remaining minutes with you, David, you hit on an interesting point. I want to piggyback on something Ed said about, letting a guy get his. There are two magnificent players in this tournament that seem to be game-changing players. We know the dominant team right now is UConn. They're blowing away everybody. But Terrence Shannon at Illinois is doing some incredible stuff. And then Zach Edey, the mountain of a man inside for Purdue. Going back to like what Ed said with Burns, if you're playing them, say you've got UConn now, who might run into Purdue in the title game. So this could be another type of matchup, though it's a guard and a big man. Do you come in with the strategy of let Shannon get his, don't let him be a playmaker, cover to other guys like Coleman Hawkins and Damask and everybody else? And the same goes for if you're playing Purdue. Say you're Rick Barnes in Tennessee. You've got a great scorer yourself in Dalton Connect. Zakai Ziegler, a good point guard to complement him. Player of the year, defensive player of the year in the SEC. Do you say we're going to let Zach Edey get his, but not let Braden Smith and those shooters get off? What do you think the strategies are for those coaches, say in Danny Hurley's case, the favorite, defending champ, and in Rick Barnes' case at Tennessee, a former ACC and Big 12 coach who people know has been around the block but has not gotten to that mountaintop?
Yeah, I think it varies a lot from team to team and player to player. Against Purdue, I am going to force somebody not named Zach Edey to have to beat me. I am going to throw everything that I've got at Zach Edey. I know he can pass out of the post, but I have not been overwhelmed by Purdue's guards at times. And of course, in recent years, some of those guys have let the Boilermakers down. So I don't know if there's a one-size-fits-all answer to that question. I certainly know these ACC teams' personnel infinitely better than I would know some of those Big Ten teams, et cetera. I watch them all, but I just feel like I watch the ACC so much more that I have a better sense of the smarter way to approach, like Duke with Kyle Filipowski. Yeah, you have to deal with him, but if you put too much on Filipowski, he has one of the best three-point shooting teams in the entire country surrounding him. Jared McCain, the freshman, is an elite shooter. Jeremy Roach, the senior, is an elite shooter. Sometimes Tyrese Proctor as well. So in that case, I would lean toward let Filipowski get his. But in the Purdue case, I would throw everything I had at Zach Edey because I don't have as much confidence in the Purdue guards as I have in the Duke guards.
All right, Ed?
No, my thing, David, of course, they're going to be playing each other third, fourth time. How do you see it coming down with Clemson, NC State, and also, NC State with Duke and then Clemson, Alabama? How do you feel it's going to happen this time?
I think Duke's the better team than NC State. They're one of the best offensive teams in the entire country. And after a couple weird back-to-back games at the end of the season, they lost on Jeremy Roach's senior night to their rival North Carolina. And the Duke guards played very poorly. And then, of course, they lost to NC State up in Washington, D.C. in their very next game. And the Duke guards played poorly again. Somehow they have rediscovered their magic for John Shire at Duke. Filipowski, as a 7-foot guy who can score down low or hit three-pointers or initiate offense from the perimeter. We don't see too many guys like that in college basketball. And the freshman, Jared McCain, I think those are two potential NBA lottery picks. If the supporting cast helps those two guys, I think Duke is going to have too much for NC State, with all due respect to this Cinderella run by the Wolfpack, which is truly one of the best in the 71-year history of the Atlantic Coast Conference. It's that good, and it'll be even better, of course, if they can somehow make it past Duke and get to the Final Four. In the other game, I think Clemson has a great chance. Alabama is an incredibly fast-paced team and an incredibly high-scoring team. but Clemson is really good at forcing teams to play at their pace. The Tigers played a Baylor team that's really loaded at guard and loves to play up-tempo ball, but the Tigers controlled the pace. The Tigers made it a lower-scoring game, and sure enough, the Tigers survived in that one as a heavy underdog. So I think there's a good chance we're going to see one ACC team in the Final Four, obviously. Either the Wolfpack or the Devils has to win that game. But I think there's a great chance we'll have two ACC teams in the Final Four, just like we did 2 years ago when both Duke and Carolina made it.
A little bit of a vindication for the ACC, David, because a lot of these pundits out there, the experts thought, this league is not that great. The Mountain West got 6 teams. The Big East only got 3, and 2 of them went down last night with Creighton and Marquette. But it feels like a ton of vindication. And I'm going to give them, not that they need little guy me to do this, more, fodder or mojo here, David, because I was just telling someone last night who reminded me with Jamal Shed going down. You never know if someone twists an ankle and injury. Yeah. I get the sense, how about you real quick? And I'll let Ed finish up with a follow-up. I get the sense that we're playing kind of that people feel the winner of UConn, Illinois is going to make the championship game. Sorry, Clemson and Alabama. And the winner of Purdue, Tennessee is going to make the championship game. Sorry, NC State. And a big name like Duke, would you say, how can you say that about Duke? But this is a 4 seed. People don't totally trust this Duke team, which might be a mistake by all of us. Do you get that sense from the public and some of the media experts out there as well? And is that a false sense to have? Because as we watched last night, if Jamal Shed or someone goes down, name Zach Edey, Dalton Connect, Terrence Shannon, Donovan Clingan, fill in the blank, it can go out the window real fast.
Yeah, I think you got to be really, really leery of assuming anything at this stage of the NCAA tournament. I do think UConn is the best team. They're the toughest to beat. If you're going to make an assumption, make it about the Huskies. I would never assume that from the other side of the bracket about Tennessee or Purdue or anybody else. I think Duke could win this national championship. Obviously, UConn's the favorite to win the national championship. The Purdue-Tennessee winner is good enough to take it as well. At this stage, as you said, I mean, Jamal Shed, as Kelvin Sampson of Houston said, it's not the same game without him. He called it not even a fair fight without him. He said you'd have to take 2 players off of Duke just to match the loss of Jamal Shed for 2/3 of that game between Houston and Duke, because he was the Big 12 Player of the Year and the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. So the guy truly impacts every possession at both ends of the floor. He's the lead distributor offensively, getting out guys open shots. Houston did not get many open shots without him. And obviously he was the Defensive Player of the Year, even as a 6'1" guy, which means you are really disrupting the opposing offense. Assume nothing at this point, really. That's the bottom line. And although the ACC narrative nationally was that it was a down league this year, I tried to remind everybody for 3 months, it's okay to say that the ACC from 1 through 15 was not a great league. But what I kept trying to point out was once you get to March Madness, it doesn't matter what your teams 6 through 15 were. It doesn't matter if they were weighing down, the reputation of your league, because all that matters after Selection Sunday is how many teams did you get in and how did they perform? And Carolina was a 1 seed, right? Duke was a 4 seed. Clemson was a 6 seed. These were teams that did a lot of great things in the regular season. So I think that negative narrative, if you want to count how bad Louisville was or how bad Notre Dame was, from top to bottom, the ACC was not as good as the Big 12. But the top to bottom argument is irrelevant once the NCAA tournament starts, because, again, all that matters is how good are the teams that did get in, not how good are the 10 that didn't make it. And by that standard, the ACC, as it usually does, it has the highest winning percentage in the history of the NCAA tournament by a significant margin. Whether you measure that over 5 years, 70-plus years, 10 years, the ACC's won 3 of the last 8 national championships. So I caution those who are too negative about the ACC, given those historic performances, long-term and shorter term. But the biggest issue this year was it doesn't matter again. 1 through 15, your reputation just does not matter. How good are your best teams and how capable are they of making long runs? To me, the answer to that all along was the best teams all have a chance to make a nice run. And, Carolina, Clemson, and Duke and State all made the Sweet 16. All but Carolina has moved on to the Elite 8. To me, only the Wolfpack is a true surprise story. And even them, if you saw what I saw for 5 games in 5 days in D.C., you at least started to see a new version of the Wolfpack that was capable of something special.
And I'm sure, and a lot of people wondering what Pittsburgh and Wake Forest would have done if they got in too. So,
yeah. Hey, David, I want to ask you, coaching. I see Louisville hired Pat Kelsey, and I think it's an absolute grand slam home run, something they extremely needed. Getting Kenny Payne was a mistake. I don't think he was at that level, though he played at Louisville. Care to comment on the Kelsey hiring at Louisville?
Oh, I think it's a great hire. That's a guy that we've known in ACC country for a while because he was a Skip Prosser guy, the late, great former Wake Forest coach, former Xavier coach. Kelsey is kind of from that family tree. He's a high-energy guy. You could see even in his early days at Louisville, he was excited to see what the Louisville basketball coach's office looks like. And Kenny Payne, former Louisville player, of course, he gave a really weird vibe over the last couple of years. It was almost like, yeah, I took the job because they asked the former player to come and save the day. It was a very, I'd say, as I've covered the ACC for 37 years, and the Kenny Payne tenure at Louisville was one of the strangest fits that I have seen. And I mean at any school in any of the major sports. His roster turnover was weird. His player relationships were weird. His interactions with the fans were weird. And obviously they had two really bad seasons, including previous year was one of the worst in all of Louisville basketball history, which is a very proud program. So I'm impressed by Pat Kelsey. He's a good recruiter. He knows his X's and O's. He did wonderful things at the College of Charleston and prior to that. So I think, like you said, I think it's a great hire for the Cardinals, and it's going to make a really good basketball league even better.
Yeah, I agree too. I know Pat a little bit, and he does have that energy, and he's great. His reputation with his kids, and give Louisville a little bit of time. Of course, with the portal, people jumping in the portal, out of the portal, all over the portal. Give that time to settle down. And we mentioned earlier too. Matt mentioned about possibly that Brad Brownell at Clemson and Kevin Keats at NC State. This run has kind of saved their job because if people haven't noticed, nowadays in the NCAA basketball, just winning doesn't work anymore. There were guys, the last time I looked, there was like 7 guys fired this year who have winning records, career winning records, and a winning record this year and got out. So it's a whole situation now, and especially college basketball.
Yeah, it is. The money's bigger than ever, which makes the pressure bigger than ever. And the NCAA tournament is really the great litmus test, right? You can have a winning record, but if you go too many years without making the NCAA tournament, they won't give you much credit for the NIT or the CBI or the CIT or whatever. Kevin Keats, remember, prior to winning the ACC tournament, it looked like he was going to miss it this year. That would have meant that in his 7 years at NC State, he only made the NCAA tournament 2 times. Now, obviously, he changed all that by winning the ACC tournament, getting that automatic bid. So now it's not only 3 out of 7 that he has made it. He's all the way into the Elite 8 and knocking on the door of the Final Four. So that, I know a chunk of Wolfpack Nation was ready to fire Kevin Keats. And we're not sure if the NC State administration might have been ready to do the same. But a whole lot changed over 5 days in Washington, D.C., and there are even triggers in Kevin Keats' contract where if he does certain things, he gets to extend his own contract. So he has hit several of those thresholds. He has saved his job, and he has the Wolfpack, basically in the midst of one of the most stunning runs in ACC history. Seriously. You guys probably know the 11 seeds don't go this far that often. There's only been a handful of 11 seeds in the Final Four, and the Wolfpack as an 11 seed is 1 win away from joining that very exclusive club. They actually did it at the expense of Shaka Smart of Marquette, whose old VCU team is one of those rare number 11 seeds that made it that far. So, this is a Cinderella story for Kevin Keats. And in Brad Brownell's case, real quickly, I think the transfer portal is changing the world. It's changing expectations because for 70 years almost, if you were the basketball coach at Clemson, you had to rely mostly on high school signees, right? Maybe the occasional junior college transfer. Where you weren't beating Duke and Carolina in more recent years, Louisville or Syracuse. You weren't beating those guys for recruits. So you might sign some promising guys, but they might take 2 or 3 years to develop. And now what happens? Brad Brownell still has his homegrown, old-fashioned guys. PJ Hall, he signed out of high school. Chase Hunter, he signed out of high school. Ian Shefflin, he signed out of high school. So that's the old way. But he added fifth-year senior guard Joe Girard of Syracuse. He added fifth-year senior forward Jack Clark of NC State. Now you blend in some immediate impact. These are old dudes who know what they're doing. They have to learn your system, but they've been around the block. They're usually more physically developed. It's not a 3 or 4 year project. Brad Brownell didn't have that option 5 years ago, 12 years ago, right? For the majority of his time at Clemson. He did make a great run in 2018. I always reminded that fan base. That was one of the best teams in Clemson basketball history. 25 wins, Sweet 16, really good players. Now Brad Brownell has 2 of the greatest teams. If we listed the 6 greatest teams in Clemson history, seriously, over 100 years, Brad Brownell's now responsible for 2 of them. And one of those 2 is at least in part because of the transfer portal. But I know all the other ACC coaches always respected his coaching X and O ability. They just weren't sure if he could get enough players to Clemson, which is a football-first school, and recruits know that. And in 71 years, they've still never won the ACC tournament, not once. And recruits know that. So if they have a chance to pick a program with more prestige or more NBA players or a better track record, it's not just Brad Brownell. It was Oliver Purnell, and it was Cliff Ellis, and it was all those other guys too. It's just a hard place to win in men's basketball. But he's managed to do it, man. And if he can figure out a way to win, the Elite Eight, he is going to have the most special season in Clemson basketball history.
Yeah, he'll be a hero like Dabo Swinney, threw a little twist of Boeheim style of zone out there with Girard, former Cuse player, against Tommy Lloyd Zona Cats, and it worked like a charm. We'll see if it does again, if he does go to the zone against Bama. That is David Glenn. He is the very best in the business. The best place to go for David's new YouTube channel, David Glenn Show podcast and daily articles, is his company's new website, ncsportsnetwork.com, and give him a follow on Twitter or X at David Glenn Show. Always a pleasure, my friend. We'll do it again and enjoy the Elite Eight, Final Four, and a championship.
Right back at you, Matt. Coach Young, always good to see you guys. Keep up the good work.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Dave.
David. You too. That is the one and only David Glenn with us here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. We're going to take a time out here for some of our sponsors that make it possible for us at the Plex and on CoVA Sports TV, 757 Saturday Sports Talk. And that includes our good friends, I do believe, at CHKD Sports Medicine. Stay tuned.
Treat yourself to a visit to the Drip Bar, IV hydration and vitamin therapy in Virginia Beach. Boost your immunity, increase your energy, and promote anti-aging with our personalized treatments designed to ensure efficient nutrition absorption to rejuvenate your mind and body. Come see our chic and relaxing day spa for yourself today. We welcome walk-ins and appointments. Our medical professionals will help you achieve your best health and answer all your questions. The Drip Bar at Lansdowne Commons in Virginia Beach.
Pain and Gain, your one-stop shop for all things field hockey. Located in Princess One Shopping Center, Virginia Beach, we carry everything you need on the turf, from black sticks, turf shoes, mouth guards, and much more. Try out your stick before you buy in our synthetic turf area. Pain and Gain. Embrace the pain, enjoy the game.
I'm Dr. Mark Cardelia, orthopedic surgeon and surgical director of the CHKD Sports Medicine Program. We see a lot of knee injuries in student athletes these days, and many of these are ACL tears. Parents often ask how to know when a knee injury may be serious. The most obvious symptom is severe pain or swelling in the knee joint. Your child may have heard a pop when the injury occurred. Look for signs they can't put weight on the knee around 48 hours after the injury, or if the knee feels unstable or wobbly. Those are all signs you should see a CHKD sports medicine specialist. Our sports medicine physicians, surgeons, athletic trainers, and physical therapists understand the needs of growing athletes and tailor treatment to fit each child's age and level of activity. Our goal is to accurately diagnose the problem in a timely fashion and provide the treatment that will ensure a safe return to activity. Kids want to play, and we want to help them get back in the game. To learn more, visit chkd.org. Sports medicine at CHKD. We're more than a hospital.
Welcome back to 757 Sports Talk. No, it's not in the pool. It's Hatfield and Young at the PLEX, the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. Here are two guys that, even though they never shut up, they're always dropping pearls of wisdom. Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Back here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel with CoVA Sports TV, where we are streaming all the time, 24/7, 365, day or night, whether we're in the pool or not in the pool, and whether you're in a hotel lobby or not in a hotel lobby, whether you've got a piano in the background or don't have a piano in the background. We're with you all the time. We've got catchy music, and if you ever want to submit your music, make sure you've got permission for it. We'll gladly play it on the show. We don't want to get hit with a licensing strike or some kind of bad little slap on the wrist. We'll play your music as long as you have permission. You can become a famous artist just by tuning in and joining 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Where in the world are you? We got people in the lobby. This is like when you went to the Siegel Center with me in the media room, the Terry Sisky media room, and the guy agreed with me and told you that you were lying. So we'll go ask those patrons how many fibs you've told this morning.
I am speaking from parts unknown.
Yeah.
Parts unknown, or I'm speaking for where I hang my hat, but don't wear one.
Oh, okay. Don't wear one.
People have to.
Okay.
And I don't have a trap door underneath the coffee table. So you do, I don't.
Well, this is what John in Norfolk says. He saw Ed Young on TV at an NBA game last night. He didn't tell us what NBA game though. Were you at an NBA game last night? Is this true?
See, this
Maybe
is.
he saw a lookalike. Maybe he saw like this. You know they do on Sports Center for Scott Van Pelt, the SVP lookalikes. Maybe there was an Ed Young lookalike at the game.
This is why I cannot
go any places.
Speak to my agent because I can't go anywhere without people spying me.
Yeah, there you go. I spy Coach Young. That's what it was. Well, he definitely saw you in a hotel lobby. We just don't know where the hotel is, what the hotel is, and what city the hotel is in. So there you go.
We can't. They don't advertise, so I can't divulge all that.
That's a good point. You could. Hey, we've got maybe a segment and a half left. And by the way, we're giving you Norfolk Tides baseball coverage. We've got coming up our new Tides Talk podcast. Our man Jack Lowe is going to be steering the ship with that, along with Nick and Chuck and our entire crew. And I'll be doing some aiding on that from time to time. In fact, you saw on the ticker, and matter of fact, we'll probably hear when we come back from our last break, the interview that Jack had along with some other media reporters last night with Jackson Holiday. How about the great prospect for the Tides, Ed? He went yard last night in the opener at Harbor Park, as you see on our ticker, in front of more than 10,000 folks. We got to get out to a Tides game. Maybe do an Instagram live. Maybe we'll do an Instagram, Facebook live. We'll do our version. But this is, by the way, we love Pete Mishu, so this is not a knock. We love Pete Mishu, but do our little half an inning commentary of a game. Just, not that whole game. We don't take away from the radio broadcast, which is a superb broadcast, but maybe do our little analysis of a half an inning or an inning on Facebook or IG live for the fans out there. But maybe we'll do it from, if they let us, if they don't ban us from the press room, that'd be better. But anywho, we don't want you near the dugout. If you get in the dugout or a bullpen, that could be bad news. We'll let Jack and me and other people handle that. We don't want you near the dugout. That could be bad. You could turn into what was the old Earl Weaver? You could be Earl Weaver out there kicking dirt on umpires and get thrown out. We don't want that.
I'll tell you what, I would love to be the bat boy for a game.
No.
Boy for the Tides for a game, to sit in the dugout, talk to players. I'd be like a little kid because
Have you ever thrown out a first pitch? Have you ever thrown out a first pitch at a game?
No, you got to have a name to do that. I don't. That'll never happen.
A name? No, you don't. Stephen A. Smith did that, and he was horrible. And he has a name.
Well, Stephen A. Smith is horrible, but he's a name. I got a nice curveball. I would like to try to throw one from. Well, they always say don't throw out the first pitch from the mound. You'll embarrass yourself.
Would you rather throw out the first pitch or sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" 7th inning stretch?
Throw the first pitch. If I have to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game,"
I'd rather sing. Let me sing. I can belt some tunes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to belt you right after. So, no, I'd rather throw the first pitch
Nice
than
of you.
yeah.
Maybe we can arrange that for one night. The Tides are desperate. They can let you throw out the first pitch, and I can sing seventh inning stretch. Take me out to the ball game.
That would be something else. I take. You know what? I think they play the Yankee Farm Club next weekend. Scranton's coming to town.
Do they?
And,
Okay.
And I will be there if possible. Good Lord willing, I'll be there every game. So get the tickets, and we're there.
Okay. Well, we will take care of that. And
Okay.
we're giving it, by the way, on our website. If you haven't checked out our website, covasports.com, we have little write-ups from Jack and our entire crew. We have a lot of the releases the Tides share with you. So we're covering all things. We tell you, whether it's soccer, lacrosse, football, basketball, baseball, minor league, major league, pro, high school, college, we are the place for you on CoVA Sports TV. And if there's something you want us to cover, someone you want us to interview, we're going through all the realm. Matter of fact, we're efforting getting on Karen Barefoot coming up soon. She did a nice new book with Marty O'Brien, co-authoring that, or I guess doing the forward for that, authoring that. I see it's doing well online from what I saw. She used to coach Old Dominion on the women's side. So we had Jeff Jones last week, Eli Harold. There's a certain guest you want us to have on. David Glenn was tremendous as usual. We'll put them on, pop them on, talk some sports with them. It can be a local person or a national person because our contacts, our connections, our claws are not they're limitless. They're not limited. So there you have it.
Well, we're going to effort. I tried to get Timmy Kirchin, ESPN today.
We've had him on before.
So wrapped up with the opening of the season, but he did say keep staying on him. That he always tries to find time for us.
He does.
And he's been with us for many years, and he's hard to get, but he does make time for us. So, hey, the other thing we've missed, we used to do tradition, our overs and unders baseball.
Well, we didn't miss it. We're doing it now. We're gonna do it this segment. I sent you the over under list. You probably because you overslept this morning at whatever bed and breakfast resort you're at. By the way, whatever bread and breakfast resort you're at, you probably didn't get the list. But I'm going to effort. See, here's the problem. I'm trying to effort it on our screen. It's so hard. You got to squint to see this. Maybe you can squint and see it. Can you see that? That's last year's over-unders. Can you read that or no? You probably can't.
No.
Well, I'm going to read it for you. I'm going to read it for you. And the audience, by the way, because we're also on Apple and Spotify. So when I say, can you read that? And people are listening to the audio podcast, doing their jogging on the treadmill, whatever. They have no idea when I say, can you see this? So I'm going to read it to you anyway, whether you can see it or not. These are the over-unders in 2023 for Major League Baseball. Matt, Ed, and our old producer from ESPN radio fame, Dino Franza. Dino, we love Dino, the longtime Cubs fan. And Dino beat you and me. He was 4-1. He had his lock of Orioles over 76.5, a winner. Cubbies over 76.5, a winner. Under 94.5 with the Mets. That was a winner when Edwin Diaz got hurt. Over 59.5 for the Nats. That was a winner. And he lost on Dodgers under 96.5, which – I lost on that too. I had that as well. So Dino went 4-1. You went 3-2, Ed Young, winning on over 86.5 with the Brew Crew of Milwaukee, under 78.5 with the Red Sox. And you, like Dino, had the Mets as an under. You lost on over 83.5 with the White Sox, and you lost on over 90.5 with the Blue Jays. Me, I was 2-3, and I'm still angry at Jack Lowe's Philadelphia Phillies because I had them under 89.5, and I think they won 90 games. I think I lost that by a game or half a game. I also lost on under 89.5 with Tampa. That was a bad pick. And I should never have gone against one of our previous radio guests that played at Nansemond River, Brandon Lau. And I lost on under the Dodgers, 96.5, which looked like it was going to be a winner until they got hot late in August, September. Did win on over 81.5 with Texas, the World Series champions, over my Diamondbacks, and I won on the Cubbies as an over. So that was last year's results. And as I read last year's results, it's now time to do this year where we pick 5, we keep track of them, and the winner buys, as you like to say. So I'm waiting for you to buy me dinner since you won last year. You always said winner buys, so I'm waiting for you to buy.
We got to go contact Dino. He's supposed to take care of both of us.
That's right. Dino owes us dinner. Good point. Dino owes us dinner. All right. So I don't have it. I can. You know what? I probably can share screen this for you. If you don't have the list, do you in front of you?
No, and see, I'm doing this by phone because
I know. I'm gonna help you out. If you can see if I can share screen it to you, I'm gonna have to do it off the Vegas Insider site. I'm sure I'm gonna get slapped by our powers that be for sharing that website because they don't sponsor, but it's where I sent you our list that we generally do the over unders on. So give me a moment as I calibrate this to see the whole list of over unders, and we'll do them by we won't go by division. We'll pick 5 that we like. And this is going to be a disadvantage for you because you have not seen the full list of the options for this. I probably should have made it a ticker item if I knew you were not going to be on the ball today with the over-under situation. So bear with me as I share it on a screen, and then I'll read it for the audience out there. So again, people listening on the audio portion of the podcast, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Can you see that yet, Ed? I don't know if you can see that. That's probably going to be a little hard for you to read. I'm going to have to zoom in, I think. How about now? Can you see now?
No, I can't read it.
You can't read it at all.
Hold on. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, well, I'm going to read it for those of you out there that can't read it and you're listening to this podcast. Here's your over-unders. We'll go by division here real quickly. Yankees are 93.5. Orioles are 90.5, the division winners from last year. Blue Jays 87.5, Rays 84.5, Red Sox 79.5. That's in the AL East. The AL Central, which was won last year by Minnesota, the Twins are 85.5. The Tigers at 79.5, Guardians at 77.5, Royals at 73.5. How about the low number for the White Sox at 61.5, which means all they have to do to go over is go 62 and 100. I heard that Chris Mad Dog Russo of High Heat MLB Network and Sirius XM Radio likes them as an over. Why? I have no idea. AL West, you have the defending champion Texas Rangers at 90.5, which is 2 wins shy of Houston's Astros at 92.5 with a new manager stepping in for Dusty Baker, who's retired. Seattle Mariners, Dave Sims, the longtime play-by-play voice. We're going to have to get him on the show because he loves coming on to talk baseball with us. 86.5 for him and his team, I should say. Angels at 71.5 minus Shohei Ohtani. They still have Mike Trout, who hit a homer in the opener. And the hapless, helpless, hopeless Oakland A's, until they become the Vegas A's, 56.5 for the American League. Before I turn the page to the National League, your quick thoughts. You can't pick first just yet, but your quick thoughts on those. Just real quickly. Any thoughts on those?
I see a couple that I'm going to take real quick.
All right, don't let the cat out of the bag just yet, but you see a couple that you like. Okay.
You know, that American League East every year is tough because they beat the heck out of each other year in and year out. It's supposedly the best division, arguably the best division, because I think the National League East, which you're about to give us, is pretty strong too, at least for those top 3.
Yep, you can see it right there on the screen. If those of you can't see it and you're listening, I'll read it to you now. Atlanta's Braves are 101.5. The Philadelphia Phillies at 90.5. Will I go back to the well again? I'm not so sure. Mets at 82.5. Marlins at 78.5. And the Washington Nationals, 66.5. We'll hit on the Nationals too because there are a lot of Nationals fans, a lot of Orioles fans in our area and Hampton Roads and across the 757 all over Virginia. You have the St. Louis Cardinals. Oh, the screen is going on me. St. Louis Cardinals are the top dog in the NL Central at 85.5. I'm not sure exactly why. They're, I guess, expecting a bounce back here for Nolan Arenado to go with their other big bat and Paul Goldschmidt, the former D-back. 83.5 for Dino's Cubbies. 82.5 for Zirkle Blakey's Cincinnati Reds. 77.5 for the Milwaukee Brewers. I hear Mad Dog likes them as an over. And the Buccos, the Pittsburgh Pirates, at 73.5. NL West, the Dodgers at 104.5. They bought more players than anybody can, even your Yankees from the past. The reigning National League champion Arizona Diamondbacks at 83.5. So too are the Padres and Giants at 83.5. And bringing up the rear in the NL West, the Colorado Rockies at 59.5. So you get the first pick, Ed. Then I get 2. You get 2. 2, 1, 1. We finish up that way. So where are you going for your first selection? You've heard them all. You've seen them all. You may know them all. Well, let's see if you can get them all right.
Move the screen up and down for me, if you would.
Up and down. Okay.
Yeah. Slowly now.
How's that? That's the NL West. There's the NL Central. As you get, it's like you're shopping in a candy store, and that can be dangerous for Ed Young. He's going to buy all kinds of Reese's cups and Kit Kats.
Don't eat those
M&Ms.
Milk Duds I will get, not those Reese's.
And he hates Halloween, so I don't know why he's going to buy all this candy because he wants to outlaw Halloween. All you kids out there, remember that. Maybe yes. I'm going to make can I make a bad joke? No, I mean, that's why the kids transferred out of you because all those kids left because you didn't like Halloween. That's why they left you. Say something funny.
Yeah, it could be true. I hate Halloween. It's the most wasted holiday there is.
How can you hate Halloween?
Yeah, go back up there. I'm going
to go as the AL East. Where do you want to go for your first pick?
No, go scroll again.
You want to scroll down? Okay, the AL Central. I can tell you if you don't see it, my first pick is going to be in the AL East. But I don't want to. I don't want to.
Still your pick.
Yeah, don't do. But you get to go first, and I get to take 2.
I'm going to go. You know what? I'm going to Cincinnati Reds. Something in my head says 84 wins. and they're at 82.5. And I feel strong I'm going to get 84.
You like Ellie De La Cruz, huh?
Oh, I love Cruz. Love Cruz.
You love the speed. Okay.
Pitching is suspect, but then again, you can say that about every team for pitching.
There's some truth to that.
I'm going to go. I think the Brewers do drop down because of losing Copeland Burns, but I do think they're going to win more than 77. And I don't think the Cardinals are good and have improved enough to go up to 85, 86 wins. I'm going to go Reds. Give me Reds because I think 84 is the number I'm looking in my head.
Okay, over 82.5 you say for the Reds. My first selection, I'm going to go with, as I go back up here to the AL East, you see the Orioles at 90.5. Give me them as an over. I'm surprised this number is this low. They brought in Corbin Burns. I like them as an over. That generally means you probably have to go with someone as an under in the American League East. And you know what? I really want to go with an under for your Yankees just to root against them and give you a heartache and headache. And you know what? They've already had an injury to Garrett Cole. What did Soto get dinged up yesterday? You know what? I think I'm going to do it. Why not? Just to mess with you. Under 93.5. I go AL East. Bing, bang, bop, bop, right on the boot. And I think it's not so much because the Yankees are bad. The Yankees are very good, and they're very lethal. But that division, it's going to be hard for anybody to win 95 games. I think the Orioles are the only team that do it. And I would not be stunned if a Toronto or Tampa got on a hot streak in the middle of the summer and they ended up doing it. So with that process of elimination and thought process, if you will, that thinking, that's why I go with those two. Now you get to the next two, and it leaves you can't take those two. It leaves you with only three options in the AL East, or you can go down to the AL Central, the AL West, the NL East, back to the NL Central, or take my favorite division where the D-backs reside, the NL West.
I'm going to stop right there with Texas.
Ooh, 90.5.
Yeah. Houston is going to be very good. Seattle will be the surprise. Angels and Oakland are playing for high draft picks.
So are you saying a World Series hangover with the starting rotation, not as healthy, no Montgomery now? You think a little bit of a hangover for Bruce Bochy? He does win on the odd number of years. This is an even number year. So
yeah, that's true. I'm thinking the Rangers don't get to 90.
Okay.
I think they're going – I'm looking at 88, 87.
I thought about that one. That's not a bad pick. I thought about that one for the defending champs, who I think will be good. And I'm like you. I think they get to 86 and – was that 76 or 86 and – yeah, that would still keep them under the total. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Texas under.
All right. You get one more pick here on this cycle before you come back to me.
See what's going on in the National League.
National League, you got obviously the East with the Braves, Mets, Phillies, and Marlins and Nats. Only one team over 100 there in the Braves. Everybody's in the 80s for the NL Central except the Brewers and the Pirates. And in the NL West, one team over 100. Everybody else in the 80s with the exception of Colorado, who's at 59.5. That means all the Rockies got to do is go 60 and 162, and they win, Ed. Do you have faith in that ballpark they can maybe eke out 30 to 35, 40 wins at home, which gets them halfway or more than halfway there?
You know, everybody's enamored with the Giants, San Francisco Giants. And I see they're at 83. Somebody's got to finish behind the Dodgers. Most people think San Diego. I don't think.
What about the team that scored 14 runs in the third inning on Thursday night? The best team in baseball. What about them with Ketel Marte getting 3 hits through 3 innings of play? What about them? You keep sleeping on them.
Arizona?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you credit. They signed Montgomery. Martel's a kid I wish the Yankees had.
Martel? How about Marte? This isn't Montel Williams and Ricky Lake. What are you talking about over there?
Hey, Ricky Martel, whoever they are.
No. Ketel Marte.
I'm not going to touch the Diamondbacks. I respect them as the best AAA team in baseball.
Over the Norfolk Tides?
No, the Tides are better than Arizona. Oh, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Tides are better than Arizona.
Wow.
I'm going to.
That's blasphemous. Go ahead.
Give me the Giants under. I'm going on the limbs. Under 83.
You think you got the Giants as an under? Really?
Yeah.
83.5 as an under. Wow. Well, I will say this. I'm a big believer in never picking my team, which is Arizona.
But you're going to now.
Well, just because you've disrespected them and you fired me up, And we still have Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly and Fat pitched well in the playoffs, young kid. I think there's enough pitching to eke out 85, 86 wins, even in that division. They're off to a nice little start here. I think you are totally sleeping on them. And I did want to go with the Giants as an over, but you already took them as an under, so I can't pick them, period.
No,
I think the Padres.
The rule is if
No. There's too many teams. We're not going to pick the same team. That's that.
Oh, okay.
I'm changing the rule here. I'm not doing that.
The other can pick over.
But I already got 2 in the cookie jar, 2 in the bank at 2-0. So I'm going to go with the D-backs as an over, 83.5. It was not my strategy coming in, but it gives me even more reason to root for them, which I already root for them to begin with. And I think they are. I think as defending champs, I think they're getting slept on in the National League, that is. And I'm going to go back up here and take another National League team here on this particular selection. And you know what? I got to be honest with you. I feel like 83.5 is low for the Cubbies. I'm going to take them as an over. Give me the Cubbies at over 83.5. I think they win that division. And I like them in this spot. I'm going to take them as an over. So there you go. I get one more pick, but you get the next 2 to finish up your selections to go with over 82.5 Cincinnati, under 83.5 San Francisco, and under 90.5 for Texas. So you got 2 unders and an over right now, and you took Bruce Bochy's current team, former Tide Bruce Bochy, and you took Bruce Bochy's former team to go with his current team. So how about that?
Okay, I'm taking 2.
You get 2 more, and you've already gone NL Central, AL West, NL West.
Go AL Central.
He says, go
Here.
AL Central. Let's go
Last
back up
round.
and see. Oh, I know where you're going. You're going to Rod Johnson's Cleveland Guardians at 77.5, which is a super low total. Boy, he's going to take it. Now, you stole my last pick, you jerk. You jerk face.
I went crazy with the White Sox last year, going over whatever they were supposed to. They were horrible. And I've picked somebody in this division. And I think Cleveland does have a good chance to win it. I see your Guardians with 80, and Mark Stufel is a Cleveland Guardian guy, former coach in Nansemond River. I see Cleveland at 83.
And by the way, I want to put it out there. They have one of the very best. I don't know how he's never gotten the Ford C. Frick Award. Now our buddy Tim Kirkton has, but one of the best broadcasters in the business, Tom Hamilton, Hammy. He's one of the best guys to listen to on a baseball game. He is fantastic. They got good, and they're pitching. If their pitching's healthy with Bieber and McKenzie, they could be dangerous in that division, which it doesn't take but 84, 85 games to win that division. All you need is 78, and you're a winner here with a new skipper taking over for Tito Francona. So we'll see what transpires there for the new Guardians manager who used to play for the Oakland A's, and they just beat them 2 games to start the year, and Stephen Vogt. What's your last pick? So you got you got 2 overs and 2 unders. What do you got?
Go National League East.
Oh, I know where you're going. Is our man Frank the Tank ready to have a rant with Ed Young on the show? We got to get Frank the Tank. Well, we can't get Frank the Tank on the show. We get Frank the Tank on the show, it'll get bleeped every 5 seconds. We can't do that. We like to get Frank the Tank on, though. The Barstool revelation. Go ahead.
I think the Braves win this division, but everybody's picking, seems like a lot of people are picking the Phillies, and nobody has any confidence in the Mets at all.
You're going to go Mets under, aren't you?
I'm going to go Mets 84. I'm going to go Mets over.
You're going Mets as an over. Wow.
Over.
Senga is not starting the year, and their offense can be very feast or famine, more times famine than feast. And Pete Alonso might not be there beyond this year. And Francisco Lindor, I mean, he's a terrific talent, but do you trust him to deliver the goods every time out? I don't know about that one. I think you might be taking an L on that one.
Mets, give me 80, give me 83 wins, Mets, and I love you forever.
Can you name their starting rotation right now?
I couldn't name their starting rotation with a search warrant.
Okay, that's my point. Tom Seaver's not coming to pitch. Max Scherzer's been gone, and so is Justin Verlander. All right, so my last pick here, I need to go with an under because I've gone with 3 overs and 1 under. And I'm going to go back to the American League for an under. I thought hard about those Angels as an under. I did. I think they're going to be bad. The White Sox is just too low a total. Let's go there to AL Central. If I like the Guardians, which I think is going to hit like you, I think Casey's going to be improved. Tigers 79.5. The Twins at 85.5 is just too many for me, Ed. I'm going to go under Minnesota. It gives me something to root for against them to lose. I don't think they go 86-76. I just don't see it. I think that division, even if they win it, is going to be won at 84, 85 games max. And I'm not sure the Twins win that division. I'm not entirely convinced they do. So give me the Twinks as an under. So to recap our over-unders for Major League Baseball. Coach Young has over 90.5 for the – I have over 90.5 for the Orioles, under 93.5 for the Yankees, over 83.5 for my Diamondbacks, over 83.5 for the Cubbies, and under 85.5 for the Twins. You, sir, have over 82.5 for the Reds, under 90.5 for Texas, under 83.5 for San Francisco, over 77.5 for Cleveland, and over 82.5 for the Mets. Meet the Mets. Greet the Mets. Step right up and beat the Mets. Bring your kiddies. Bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really socking the ball. Not really this year. Knocking those home runs over the wall. I'll stop singing because if I keep singing, that number in the upper left corner of our podcast will dwindle quickly. And that's not a good thing. We want it to keep rising because we are streaming on CoVA Sports TV and all over the web. And we're going to take our final time out. Here coming back, Jackson Holiday, the future phenom of the O's, now playing for the Tides. And we'll close out this edition with final thoughts, including some Elite 8 picks for this weekend in men's college basketball. Maybe give you our women's picks too, right here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Where are we streaming, Ed?
Let me say it slowly so I get it right. CoVA Sports TV.
Good job. Back in a bit.
It's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
After more than 50 years of innovation, AstroTurf still leads the way. The inventor of artificial turf does it all, right here in the USA. We engineer, test, manufacture, and install the world's most innovative fibers and turf technologies with over 30,000 tracks and fields worldwide. AstroTurf, powered by Sport Group.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries. It's a whole team approach to caring for young athletes. With experienced physicians, surgeons, trainers, and rehab specialists here when kids and teens need them most. Our experts help young athletes prevent injuries too, with advanced training and conditioning programs that keep them in the game safely. CHKD Sports Medicine, where kids are more than patients and we're more than a hospital.
As a banker at Town Bank, we believe that people bank with people, not with banks. You're looking for an actual personal relationship, and that's what you get at our bank. You Get that person that gets to know you, gets to know your business, is there for you. I think that is what motivates us, what drives us. And the idea that we are trying to serve others and enrich lives, I think is very true.
And now back to Matthew Hatfield and the evil basketball coach. Blast you and Young!
That's right, that evil basketball coach. It is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Hatfield and Young at the Plex, or in a mansion with a piano, and at a hotel somewhere in a state that is near Virginia, but probably not Virginia, here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk.
Is it a hotel?
Is it a hotel? Is it a resort? Where is he? I'm not really sure.
I cannot divulge location because just can't do it at this time, but don't be so sure that it's a hotel.
Okay, I'm not so sure. Hey, we're going to do our Elite 8 picks to wrap up the show, but before we do that, 2 orders of business we got to get out of the way here. Order of business number 1, our man Nick Senti back in Mission Control has got his NASCAR pick at Richmond, William Byron. All right, you good with that, Ed?
I'm going to go with.
You don't even know what the odds are.
Yeah, give me.
William Byron, by the way, is on the board from what I see. He's 7th at 12-1, tied with Brad Keselowski. You got Denny Hamlin 17-4, Christopher Bell 17-4, Martin Truex 6-1, Ty Gibbs 8-1, Kyle Larson 10-1. I like Ty Gibbs a couple times here, but every time I pick him, he does. I'm not even making a pick. I'm so bad at these picks.
Give me Hamlin. I'm going with the old school. Give me Denny Hamlin.
You're going to go with the favorite. Boy, that's going out on a limb. That's just like you.
Going with the favorite.
How'd that work out for your bracket? That work out real well for you in your bracket?
Never works out.
Yeah. We appreciate all the comments and tweeters out there and messengers. We got one earlier from Dwight Vick, our buddy. Hey, before we do our Elite 8 picks, we want to give you some sound from last night. It's a little bit loud, but he went yard. Jackson Holiday last night for the Norfolk Tides. He's going to be a future standout for the Baltimore Orioles, and Ed Young's going to be trying to jump over the dugout to get him to sign an autograph card. I'm telling you, it's going to probably happen the next game. Security's going to take Ed away and handcuff. It's going to be so great to see. But before that happens, here's what Jackson Holiday had to say about his opening night with the Tides last night, victorious at Harbor Park.
Yeah, I know we talked about in his meeting that to get him behind accounts, to get in the leverage count, that he has a hard time looking at all. I just missed the fastball before, and then I got into the hitters count, and I was able to put a good spin on it. So that felt pretty good to start the season off with a homer. Can't complain about that.
When you go up there and you appear as measured as you are, do you just feel like right at home at this level at this point in time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the experience of big league spring training this last spring training is very helpful. To be able to compete against guys that are all-stars and put together some pretty good at-bats this season as well. To be able to come down here. And I've already been there, done that. It gives me another
put 10,000 people in this place on opening night. How electric was this to walk into this atmosphere? First game of the season.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to play in front of fans because our goal is to play in Canada, and for them to be able to replicate that a little bit, it's pretty awesome.
Did you think home run entering that event?
Yeah, I've been thinking about hitting a homer all day. It'd be great to hit a homer in the first game, and yeah, it's pretty nice. I wasn't trying to hit a homer. I was just trying to get a hit, and good things happen when you do that. So yeah.
Did you know on that last at-bat that you get a triple, you're in the cycle?
I did. Yeah, that was he put together some pretty good pitches right there. The last pitch was pretty good. So yeah, I did know that, and I should have left that one out. I should have gone for that one earlier. So
looking at second, is that just a matter of getting used to that position?
Yeah, it was a tough one. I think to be able to, probably should have just secured the one out. Probably not able to get through. But yeah, shifted over for lefty, ran my feet a little bit. Yeah, I don't really think anyone played great defense tonight. I think we would all like to take that back, but something that obviously I need to work on. happy overall with coming out.
To put 12 up in the first game and 7 in the second innings, that just speaks to the firepower that this lineup's going to bring.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty crazy lineup that we're able to put out there in AAA. Hopefully fans have a lot of that to look forward to with this lineup.
Good guys.
Awesome.
So that was Jackson Holiday last night going yard as the Tides get it done, kickstarting a 7-run second inning as he drove in Billy Cook, you see, on a sac fly. Not the Billy Cook who's the referee, by the way, in the area. There's another Billy Cook, the referee. But see, there you go. Smile, bring up the referees to you. But Ed, how good are the Orioles going to be when they get him? Because right now the Tides are going to enjoy having him, but their lineup consists from 1 to 9 from what I saw on MLB.com to begin the season. Cedric Mullins, Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Anthony Santander, Ryan Mountcastle, Austin Hayes, Jordan Westberg, Ramon Urias, and Jorge Mateo. And really, when you look at those 1 through 7 names, with the exception of, say, Mullins, Rutschman, Henderson, Santander, Mountcastle, Hayes, Westberg, they all are homegrown talents. I think by maybe say next year after that, the Orioles have the foundation that is just, we've talked about it before with Tim Kirkchin. We've had on some other guests, Steve Molesky we had on last year, if you remember, from MASNsports.com as the playoffs were getting underway. Their future is awful bright. And it's been cool for fans to be able to relate and connect and root for those guys that they watched get their start at Harbor Park.
Yeah, that's what's really neat. When you look at the current Oriole roster, there's a ton of guys there from the Tides. And most of them, other than Mullins, I saw the roster the other day. I think there's, of the non-pitchers, position players, I think Mullins and McCann, the backup catcher, and one other guy, Tony Kemp. Tony Kemp, they just signed as a backup infielder. Those are the only guys 30 or older. Everybody's under 28, 29, 28, 27 years old. And then you've got 4 or 5 guys with the Tides right now who will push hard. Jackson Holiday everybody's great. And I just pray the kid stays as humble as he seems, definitely stay injury-free. Of course, he's the son of Matt Holiday, former Major League Baseball player. And the kid looks like he's 12 years old. Oh, the kid never ages, you know. And hopefully all this fanfare don't get to him. And it looks like they're going to try to play him at second base, where they got Westberg already with the Orioles, unless they're going to move him elsewhere. They're set at shortstop with Gunnar Henderson forever.
Got a little bit of flexibility, though.
Because
remember, that was the big question with Mountcastle coming up, was what position would you play him? I saw him, I remember his early on a few years ago at Harbor Park. I was like, boy, he's got a sweet swing and a great bat. It was kind of the question mark where you'd play him in the field, which is a lot of the times the question mark for a young player. And then you see position changes sometimes undergo, like the Dodgers doing with Mookie Betts now back at second base. I think he bobbled one his first game of the day for the Dodgers against St. Louis. But it's gonna be interesting to see. Let's close up shop here on this edition of the podcast with our college basketball Elite 8 picks. You have some Sweet 16 women's action today, by the way, with LSU, UCLA, Colorado, Iowa, Baylor, Southern Cal, and Duke, UConn. Kara Lawson, a former West Springfield star up in Northern Virginia. UConn's going to win. Southern Cal's going to win. I think Kim Mulkey's Tigers are going to win. It's going to be a tight one with UCLA. But I'm calling it right here and now, not at Caitlin Clark hater. I've got Colorado knocking off Iowa today. Down they go, and it'll be the Colorado women saying, give me my theme music, as they pull a shocker today against the Hawkeyes, now in Albany, finally away from home. A lot of fans were upset about the home cooking, if you will, Ed, that they thought they got against the Mountaineers in West Virginia. And kudos to Janiah Quinterly, former Lake Taylor star, who had a great game and a great season for them. We love John Quinterly, former football coach in the area at Maury, Lake Taylor assistant for many years with Hank Sawyer. And we remember her brother, John's son, Nyree Quinterly, was part of a state championship football team at Lake Taylor, played his college football at East Carolina, Norfolk State. That Quinterly family's got some great genes. She had a terrific season, but they got beat. Maybe some shaky calls in that one. Nonetheless, Iowa is one of the stories of the season, and people love flocking to the TV sets for Caitlin Clark, which they will today at 3:30. I'm calling for Colorado to take them out.
Boy, blasphemy. I tell you, the country's going against you.
By the way, like my nice new SBC shirt. I got a Sunbelt shirt. Thanks to my partner, Shauna DeBerry, for hooking me up with that. My ODU broadcast partner.
If it's free, it's you. If it's free, it's you.
Free. I appreciate Shauna for taking care of me for that, by the way.
As for the women go, I think Iowa beats them. The one I think may not happen is UCLA may take down LSU.
No, you think Mulkey's going down? One of your new favorite coaches, by the way. You become a kid. You hated Kim Mulkey. Now you're one of her favorite people. You are such a phony and a fraud.
Those
you
outfits,
are such a phony.
the outfits destroying me. The outfits were destroying me. But I got to hand it to her. She has her own style, and she's handled big personality Angel Reese very well. And I don't know. She's always been she was a tremendous player. She was a coach on the floor and she reminds me of a little different version of Pat Summitt, former late great coach of Tennessee women's program all those years. Very, very focused, very into it. Just a winner, period. Now,
Elite Eight, real quick. We're going to men. Hold on. Before we get to the men, Elite Eight tomorrow. It's already been set. You have Oregon State, the Beavers, taking on the Gamecocks of South Carolina tomorrow. Dawn Staley's team, national champions before, didn't win it last year, got to the Final Four. I tell you what, Camila Cardozo's tough inside. They almost put a game yesterday, but I think they beat Oregon State. I don't think they'll have as much trouble as they did with Indiana with the shooting. But here's a good one. NC State, Wes Moore. I watched them against Old Dominion in December with Isaiah James. We called her state semifinal when she dropped 41 a couple years ago on the NFHS network, Ed. A few days after her brother's tragic passing, Ashley James. Every time you watch it, you see AJ all over. I mean, you just the face. They're so almost identical. Rest in peace to the late great Ashley James, who started at Green Rome, was going to go to Murray State. But last night for Isaiah, 29 points, 25 in the second half as they beat Stanford, rallied past Tara Vanderveer's Cardinal. Now, this Texas team is good, very balanced under coach Vic Schaefer, who obviously was a championship coach, Mississippi State. This is a tough game to call. I like the Gamecocks over the Beavers, but NC State, Texas, it's a toss-up. I'm going to go on a limb and say NC State beats them.
I'm going to say Texas in a close one. I want NC State to win it because of James, but I'm going Texas.
Okay. And you like South Carolina, their game?
South Carolina all the way.
All right. My dad will be tuned to that one. He likes that game. The men's matchup, you got Illinois. Well, let's see here. Let's do today. Illinois, UConn. The line is 8.5 for this game. You want to go first or I go first?
You go first.
I'm so fascinated to see if Terrence Shannon can put his team on his back and have another big performance and they knock off the Huskies. But I said to somebody the other night, I was doubting UConn. I said, did you take UConn or the field? He said, take UConn. And I had to call him up and say, dang, you're right. They're so really good. UConn is so good. I think they win the game, but I would take the 8.5 for the Illini. I think Coleman Hawkins, the way they score, if it goes up and down, it could be a lot like that 95-90 game that UConn won in the Big East semifinals versus Rick Pitino's St. John's team. Ultimately, UConn wins, but I don't think they cover. I think they finally have a game in single digits.
I've been on UConn since it started. I'm going to stay, but the game, I'm a little nervous. Illinois definitely can beat them, and Sharp is a big reason.
Sharp or Shannon? Who's Sharp?
I think it's Shannon Sharp, football all the way. Hey, I almost feel that if UConn dominates this game, hand them the crown. I don't care who they play after. Get them the trophy. That's
wow. Oh, even over Purdue, Tennessee, yes. Duke.
Okay. If they get through this one, I think it's done. But
you would take the 8.5 is what you're saying. You agree with me?
Yeah. This is going to be a tough one for them, though. I believe. I don't see them blowing out Illinois. Even 8 is a lot. I think it's a 3-4 point great game.
Okay, so you're with me on that. The other game tonight on TBS, 8:49, Clemson, the 6th seed, Alabama, the 4th seed, 24-11. You going with Dabo Swinney's Tigers or Nick Saban's Tide? Oh, I'm sorry. You going with Brad Brownell's Tigers or Nate Oates' Tide in this one?
I'm going to go. I want Clemson. I'm going Alabama.
I'm going Alabama. I thought the team that could have beat them and maybe should have beat them was last weekend with Grand Canyon. You know, I've been on Grand Canyon all year. They're aggressive going to the rack. They had a lead in that game, and then they got 2 one-on-one ISO ball, didn't share it late down the stretch in a game I couldn't watch because I was broadcasting a women's basketball WNIT game that our ladies of Old Dominion lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Aggies of North Carolina A&T. Nonetheless, Mark Sears, too much, I think, for Clemson in this game. I don't think the zone will work. Bama will push the pace, and if this gets above the 80-point mark, I'm not sure Clemson can score enough. I like Bama, and I'll lay the 3.5. Roll Tide. And it's crazy to say because I did not think they had enough defensive integrity, much like Kentucky to go through this tournament, but they ended up being the team that has overpowered people with their offense, unlike Kentucky, and they're going to get to the Final Four, I do believe.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Alabama's just going to outscore Clemson, but Dave Glenn made a good point. Clemson forces people to play their style. They're not a boring team to watch. They can score. They got athletes. They can score. It's just that they entrap you in how they play, and they limit you in terms of your points. Alabama is not a good defensive team, so they have to outscore people. And I just think they're better at it right now than Clemson's defense.
Let's give a quick hat tip to the Hall of Famer, the great scribe, many years Daily Press now with the Richmond Times-Dispatch, David Teal, because he had the great tweet that Clemson has trailed for a grand total of this tournament of 50 seconds. New Mexico, Baylor, Arizona. If I told you they'd be down for 50 seconds, you'd say, come on, you're out of your mind. But it's a great stat. Sunday's games, 2:20 CBS, 2 seed Tennessee, 1 seed Purdue. I want to know if Santiago Vescovi is going to play for the Volunteers. He was out with an illness last night. He was like 8 for 10 from the foul line in their previous encounter. 3.5 for Purdue is the line. I'll let you go first because I'm torn on this game.
I'm going to go Tennessee.
Ooh, outright?
Yeah, I'm going to go Tennessee. I think Purdue meets their Waterloo in this game here. Though they're good enough to win it all too and beat UConn in the championship. It's not the Purdue team of last year. I just feel something with Tennessee. Again, I'm looking at the offensive side, and Purdue puts tons of points on the board. I just feel Tennessee gets this. And again, I'm talking about a close game, potential overtime game. I don't see either team blowing the other one out in this one. But give me Tennessee in a close one.
You remember 2019, 80-75, Virginia outlasting Purdue and Carson Edwards in the Elite Eight with Mamadi Diakite's shot flung up at the rim at the horn to force OT on the pass from Kihei Clark. You remember that game?
Yes.
I remember like it was yesterday. I was standing in the Boo Williams Sportsplex watching with a crowd of people around the TV who all were gasping for air and then jumped up for joy, rooting for UVA, as if they were longtime UVA fans or alums, and they weren't. They were as phony as you sometimes. But anyhow, nonetheless, it was good for them, and UVA. It was a great moment for UVA. I think it's going to be the opposite in this game. I think Tennessee's going to control the second half, have the lead, and then Rick Barnes is going to Rick Barnes, or Matt Painter's going to Matt Painter. One of the two is going to happen. And I think Purdue will get a shot at the buzzer. We haven't had a buzzer beater yet in this tournament, Ed. Have we had a true buzzer beater? I think we have. I think this is the game that delivers it for us. So beware, you people that put shekels on this game. Be very aware. 3.5 is the line. I'll take the 3.5 with Tennessee, but I think either Braden Smith or possibly Lamont Jones, somebody's going to hit a buzzer beater for Purdue, and they will get through finally to the Final Four. They have. I hedged myself. Purdue straight up, Tennessee plus the points. And then our last game, 5:05 on CBS Sunday. Duke's a 6.5-point favorite against NC State, as you heard David Glenn say earlier. Third encounter in the month. It'll be on Easter Sunday as you're sitting down to eat with the family after you get done hiding the Easter eggs for your 7-year-old niece. Oh, wait, that's me, not you. What do you think happens with the Wolfpack and the Blue Devils?
Media, as many as they've done, they're so familiar with each other. You don't need a whole lot of scouting report on this game for sure. NC State has been the sweet story of the tournament, but like David Glenn said, I think they meet it here. I think Duke is going to show what Duke is all about. I think I dare say, I think it's a 10-point game, Duke.
I do too. I think Duke wins this comfortably, 6.5. I was surprised the line was that high at first, but I think Duke's going to pull away in this game. And I just think NC State runs out of gas in this one. I think they change up their coverages defensively. And I think Kyle Filipowski will hit some outside shots. I think the key is him getting 21+ in this game. I think him and Jeremy Roach and McCann and their outside perimeter pieces will strike in this matchup. And they won't let DJ Burns just go off in this one. And I think DJ Horn will be kept in check. So I like them to take care of business. So go ahead.
What I was going to say though, Matt, in this game, I could be in that NC State locker room, and they've been playing with house money the whole tournament.
Yeah.
That, think about it. We beat Duke, the illustrious, famous Duke, knocked them out, and we go to the Final Four. And we're already kind of the darlings of the tournament, the story of the tournament, get to the Final Four. So, as again, going back to David Glenn's interview, the psychological, the mental part of it, even though you have to perform physically on the floor, I think it 100% towards NC State, and that's got to mean something.
Doesn't it have a lot of the feels, a lot of the vibes of the 1983 Surviving Advanced Jimmy Valvano team? I mean, they beat Virginia with Ralph Sampson, and they had to win to get in the tournament. It has a lot of the same feels. You got to play an ACC team to get to the Final Four. And by the way, if they were to run into UConn, it would be a lot like that Phi Slamma Jamma Dragon with Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. If they got it that far, now if they get that far, I mean, we've got something on our hands there. But
back, NC State was picked to lose every game in the tournament, even as they moved on. Everybody was like,
NCAA tournament.
Right, in the NCAA tournament, right.
The ACC tournament, they were favored the first game against Louisville. And that's not entirely true. They were actually favored to beat Oakland in the round of 32 because they ran into a 14 seed.
Yeah. But it was that Destiny team, Jim Valvano.
So that team, yes. That team was, yes. Valvano's team, yes.
That's what I'm looking at here when I hear NC State. Of course, I flash back to that, having worked those camps down there for years, get to know Jim Valvano, all those players close to that program. But I just think Duke is going to be Duke this time. And but I think mentally everything goes towards NC State, so they can make it interesting.
Well, it all is about stopping the big guy.
He's a massive guy. This big, powerful guy. This guy is a monster. A giant of a man. One really large person. I've seen a lot of people over the years. Big people.
You know, I have a friend, big guy, one of the biggest in the world.
This big, strong friend of mine who weighed like 250 then, which 250 then is big. That's like 310 now, right? This was a long time ago.
They stopped DJ Burns, the big guy. Duke will advance to the final.
Stop the big guy.
That's going to do it for this edition of the podcast. We thank David Glenn, also all our entire team from Chuck Thornton, Nick Senti, Jack Lowe out there. And we'll do it again next week in the month of April. Have a great, blessed Easter Sunday, and we'll talk to you then. Ed, enjoy the calendar flipping and your spring break because you got a lot of time to break for spring.
Well, I got picked out. I'm a free agent, first time ever.
Free agent. Yeah, you're a free agent. Go enjoy free agency. We'll collect the bids for you. I'll get your NIL money ready too.
Right, I need.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share to CoVA Sports TV, and we'll do it again next time. Enjoy your Easter weekend, everyone. Be safe.